Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara. Welcome to those of you who have splashed your way together into the sanctuary this morning on this cool and wet day. Welcome to those of you who are joining us cozy at home online in our Zoom sanctuary. All of us, one community in this wonderful and a little bit damp world this morning here together. I'm the Reverend Julia Hamilton. I'm delighted to be with you, with Matthew Grissett, our music director, by Heather Levin on the piano, by Peter Hale, our worship associate this morning, and by the folks of our Justice Choir led by Gwendolyn Kilfoyle. We have some lovely music to sing us awake this morning together. Here at the Unitarian Society, we are a loving community of seekers who strive to live with integrity, nurture wonder, and inspire the actions that transform us and transform the world. And that work doesn't just happen on Sunday mornings, it happens all throughout the week. And so we would love to keep in touch with you about what's going on here at the congregation and invite you to participate. And in your order of service, if you're here in the room, there is an insert that lists all of the upcoming events and activities. You can find it online in our Friday email, or if you want to fill out that little connection card, either in the link online or tucked into your order of service, that will let us keep in touch and invite you to join us. And I want to highlight a couple of things that are coming up. We are still taking sign-ups for our Passover Seder on the 27th. All are welcome to join in this meal, this celebration of liberation led by the folks in our Congregation of Jewish Heritage. It's beloved tradition here at the Unitarian Society. So please check out the table if you have any questions, and we would love to see you there. If you have a talent, hidden or not so hidden, save the date for our next open mic night on May 12th. Brush off that ukulele, tune up that banjo, get the band back together, find some poetry that you've written that you'd like to share. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to have fun together, to reveal a fun and hidden side of ourselves sometimes. So sign up for the May 12th open mic night. You'll be hearing more about that in the coming weeks. I would also like to remind everyone that if you're visiting with us, we have a newcomer orientation on the second Sunday of every month right over in the front office. So keep an eye for that coming up, and join Angie Swanson-Kiriako, our membership and outreach coordinator, if you have any questions about how to get involved. And finally, I would like to invite you all to join us here at 2 o'clock this afternoon for a memorial for Carol Sharp, a beloved member of this congregation whose life we will be remembering together. If you'd like to join us online, it's going to be the same Zoom link as our Sunday morning services. So all are welcome to gather again at 2 o'clock with this community and Carol's family to celebrate the gifts she shared with this world. I invite you now to take a breath, to set aside whatever busyness or to-do lists you have waiting for you out in the world, and allow yourself to be present for this moment, this hour we share together as we ring our bell and let the sound connect us.
As we kindle our chalice this morning, if you are joining us from home, you can write "The chalice is lit" in the chat box. We join our spirits in gratitude and commitment for the community of faith we share. Let the love that dwells within each and every heart shine like the sun, illuminating our path through life.
As you might have noticed, we're good. We are using a loaner sound system until we install our permanent replacement for our mixer board this week. So thank you for bearing with us on this sound journey that is Sunday morning here at the Unitarian Society. Often we take a moment on Sunday to acknowledge something good we have found in the world. Over the past 4 or 5 years, we've been stopping to ponder that which inspires us, brings us hope and joy, and reminds us that alongside all of the struggle, there is always beauty. We've called this the good things jar, the change jar, the hope jar. It's had different iterations over the years. And at our last worship arts meeting, we were talking about how important this practice has become for many of us. This practice of taking a moment in the midst of all that is going on and lifting up the good we find. So we're going to continue this practice every Sunday after the chalice lighting, inviting all of you to think of something you've seen or witnessed this week that you would consider a good thing. If you're joining us online and you want to share it, you can type it into the chat. If you're here in person, you can talk about it at coffee hour, and we're even going to think of some ways to share it during coffee hour. But I want to lift up a good thing for us all. And that is something that happened just this past week during the eclipse. How many of you saw the partial eclipse here in Santa Barbara? Did anybody see totality? Did anybody go anywhere where they could see the totality of the eclipse? Someday we'll get there. But this is an event that happened during the eclipse. In 1978, there was a junior high science teacher named Patrick Moriarty in upstate New York, and he noticed that there was going to be a total eclipse this year that would pass over their town. And so every year he started telling his junior high science kids that they would reconvene in 2024 to witness the eclipse together. For decades, he shared this with his kids, until finally 2024 rolled around and hundreds of students started sharing about how excited they were to witness this moment. And over 100 of them reconvened from all over the country in this small town in upstate New York with their junior high science teacher to witness this moment. That brought such a smile to my face, not only because of the joy of sharing in this beautiful natural cycle and event, but because of the joy that teachers bring into our lives, the importance of these mentors and role models who can be good things for us. And that's our collective good thing this morning. I invite us now to join together in song. I'm going to invite Gwendolyn forward with the Justice Choir to teach us the song we'll be singing this morning. The lyrics are in your order of service or on the screen.
Good morning. I'm Gwendolyn, and we are blessed this morning to have members of the Justice Choir, as well as Rich Heiser here with us on guitar and later drum. So we're gonna teach you a song to sing along with us, and I believe the words should be up there. Can you all see them? This is a song called Belong by Mo Washburn. We'll do this call and response, okay? And the Justice Choir is going to help us model the timing, because this is more of a call and echo. So it'll go like this. I believe that I belong to the earth. I belong. May my life be a song. May my song feed the earth. You got it. Beautiful, beautiful. So just remembering to take a deep breath and smile as you sing and feel our place being held by gravity on the earth as we sing this song. So I'm going to invite the Justice Choir to do, on this side, to do the call with me, on this side to do the response with all of you. At some point you may hear harmony come in. You're welcome to join on the harmony if you'd like. And to end the song, I'm going to give a cue like this, meaning we're wrapping up the song and we're going to end on the first two words of the song, I believe, okay? And all of you at home, so glad to have you singing along as well, Okay, here we go. 1, 2, ready. I believe that I belong to the earth. I belong. May my life be a song. May my song feed the earth. I believe that I belong to the earth. I belong. May my life be a song. May my song feed the earth. Let me hear you. And I believe that I belong to the earth. And I belong. And may my life be a song. May my song feed the earth. Last time. And I believe that I belong to the earth. I belong. May my life be a song. May my song feed the earth. I believe. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
It is time for kids and people who enjoy sitting on rugs to come forward for a story. Good morning. I see some, is that Dylan sporting some cool rain gear? Everyone's all bundled up. I'm glad we have little tiny Leland here to join us. Oh, he's regular sized now. Welcome, everyone. It's nice to see you on this rainy day. So, later on in the service this morning, Julia's going to be talking about change. She's going to talk about how things change over time, but also how the most important things stay the same, even when everything around them changes. She's going to talk about how Unitarian Universalism is changing, even as the most important things about our faith stay the same. So that got me thinking about change this week, and I started to think about technology, because we see a lot of change in technology, right? And so this week I did a little archaeological digging down in the church basement and in my garage too. Have a lot of technological fossils in my garage. And I found some things, so I want to show them to you. Does anybody know what this is? I know everybody out there does, but does anybody know what this is? Let me hold it up. Yeah, do you know what it is? What is it? A cassette tape, yeah. How about this? Anybody know what this is here? Know what it's called? What'd you call it? It's not a music disc. It is a disc. It's called a floppy disk, although it's not particularly floppy. I don't even know what's on that disc. So I want to show you a little bit about some of these fossils. And what am I going to start with? I'm going to start with, with music. So music,
This way.
since when I was a kid, started out on one of these.
Right here, this way.
Who all have this album out there? Madonna's first album. So it looks like this. Thanks, Julia's going to hold it up, a vinyl album. And then, because they were kind of easier to carry around and you could play them in your car, we had cassette tapes. And they were cool, but sometimes they got all tangled up. But the fun thing was people made mixed tapes for each other. This is a mixed tape a friend of mine made me. And from there, we went to CDs. And I found this one is so cool. It's a Star Wars soundtrack for The Empire Strikes Back. And I picked this one. You guys can pass it around. It's got kind of a holographic 3D cover, so that's really cool. And now, most of the time, we get our music from apps on our phone, right? So that's kind of how that has changed. But so the technology changed, but what stayed the same? Music. What stayed the same is that we all still wanted to hear music. Okay, so what about watching movies? All right, back in the dark ages when I was a kid, watching movies at home in particular, when I was a kid, there was something called the movie of the week. Who remembers that? So you didn't get to choose what the movie of the week was. You looked in your newspaper or the TV guide. Who remembers the TV guide, a little paper book, to see what the movie was that week. And if you weren't too busy, you might sit down and watch the movie of the week. If you were busy, you just missed it. Then came VHS tapes. Who remembers these? Did you? None of you guys probably do, but I bet your parents do. And those, we watched movies. That actually happens to be a VHS tape from my wedding, but anyway, my first wedding. Anyway, onward. So VHS tapes, and then from VHS, we went to DVDs, right? Here's a DVD of Elf. Have you all seen Elf? Yeah, you guys know that one. So the cool thing about both VHS tapes and Elf was you could choose the movie you wanted to watch, and you could decide when you wanted to watch it, but you had to go to a special store to pick out your movie ahead of time, so you had to be prepared. And DVDs were a little better than VHS tapes because the VHS tapes got jammed in the VCR, which is the machine you needed to play the tape, and sometimes they got torn. Anyway, so DVDs were better. But now what do you guys watch movies on? Netflix most of the time, right? Or other channels. So you just...
Like Disney.
Oh yeah, say that again.
Like Disney.
Yeah, or like on Disney, and you just go to your TV and program in the movie you want to watch, right? Yeah. Yeah, like Discovery Planet. Yeah, you just go and you just choose what you want to watch. So once again, the type of the technology changed, but the most important thing stayed the same. What was the most important thing?
People still wanted to watch. People still wanted to watch.
Right, people still wanted to watch movies. Okay, so how about sharing information, the way we share information? When I got my first office job, if somebody asked me to share a file with them, I handed them this. This is a file for you guys who don't know it. It's a file. So if you needed me to share it, I handed it to you. Or maybe I mailed it to you. And after that came fax machines. And then later with computers, we had, where's that floppy disk? Later, we had floppy disks, and that's so we could share the information on that and put it in, you could take it and then put it in your computer and someone else could see it. And then we had something called thumb drives. And you plug this, you still have those? Yeah. You plug this into your computer and it stored the information, and then that's how you shared the information like that. And then, I don't want to forget anything, so let me make sure I'm getting them all. Oh, and then now we have something, among other things, we have something called Google Docs, right? Which are saved and shared in a mysterious place called the cloud. I don't know how you get to the cloud, but that's where all the stuff is now, right? That we want to save and share. So the technology changed, but what stayed the same?
People wanted, wait, I forgot what this is about. To save and share information.
Thanks. Dylan's being a great assistant this morning. Thank you, Dylan. All right, what about communication technology? This is our last technical thing. So we've seen a lot of changes in communication technology. Let's just talk about phones for a minute. Back when I was a kid, and maybe most of your parents, we had what we call now landlines. Back then we just called them phones, but now we call them landlines, and they had to be plugged into your wall at your house. How many of you carried your landline to church with you on Sunday mornings back in those days? No, nobody did that. So you had to go to the phone didn't come to you. And if you called your friend, at least when I was a kid, if I called my friend and they weren't home, I just had to keep calling back until they were home. I couldn't even leave a message. Then we got answering machines and voicemail, so at least we could leave messages, right? And then phones kept changing and changing and changing until now. How many of you have a phone with you here this morning out there in the, oh yeah, see, a lot of people brought their phones with them this morning. Now we have smartphones. And we can call people and text people and email people and send pictures and do all of that all from our smartphone. But once again, the technology kept changing, but what stayed the same? Dylan, any ideas? Oh, well, let's see if Max knows. You have an idea?
They wanted to talk to people still.
Yeah, exactly. People still wanted to talk to each other. That stayed the same. From far away, not just in the same room, right? So we can see from our technology that the way we do things, the tools we use change a lot, right? But the most important things, like enjoying music and movies, saving and sharing information, and communicating with each other, those things stay the same. And in Unitarian Universalism, we've been using the 7 principles as our technology for our faith since 1985. That was a long time ago. That's when people made the switch from cassette tapes to CDs. So over the past couple of years, a really wonderful team of leaders in our faith community has been working on a new technology for our faith. This technology has 7 new values. They are, and you can pass those around, Julia, for the kids. They are pluralism, interdependence, equity, transformation, justice, and generosity. And right at the center is love. Those are some big words. And don't worry if you don't know what they mean right now, because we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about them. But so now it's up to us, all of us, to figure out if this new technology, these new values, are going to be the next way that we can live our UU faith in the world. And like I said, don't worry if you don't know what these words mean right now. There's plenty of time to learn and explore what they mean to us as Unitarian Universalists. There's a lot to think about here, and we know that change is hard. It can be uncomfortable. And like any time we learn a new technology, it can take a little while to get used to it. But we also know that as long as we
You're
commit
such a
to
good
moving
boy.
forward together in love,
Yes,
we
I
can
am.
change and change
Yes,
and
I
change
am a
again.
good
And what we
boy.
love most
Yes,
will
I
stay the
am a
same.
good boy.
That's our story for today.
I am a good, good boy.
And now we'll sing our kids out to their classes.
Yes. Okay.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious light. We hold you in our love as you go.
I invite you now to join me in a time of meditation, reflection, and prayer. Perhaps to get in touch with your breathing, hold your hands gently in your lap, soften your gaze. You can close your eyes if you like. Feel yourself once again in space, a body sharing space with other bodies wherever you are. This morning, I was reflecting on a song we are going to be singing at the celebration of Carol Sharp's life this afternoon. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth. Like stones dropped into still water, let peace begin in ripples that spread outward from right here, from this moment, from these hearts, from the rich imagination of minds inspired by love and compassion, bending us all toward peace. And may the many agents of peace in the world who are found wherever war is found, wherever conflict arises, the helpers and healers, the singers of songs and keepers of memory, those who risk their lives to point us to a better way. When the undertow of violence threatens to drown us all, may they be swift swimmers, safe and strong, as they seek to pull us back from destruction and toward a more beloved world. And may they inspire us to find our own way, to be helpers and healers, singers of songs and keepers of memory, pointing toward a more beloved place for us all. Let us enter into a time of quiet together.
There is an expression, a qualifier that since venturing into my 70s, I'm hearing more and more often. A man of your age. I was at my doctor's office earlier this week, and he said, I've been looking over your tests, and you're doing great for a man of your age. Friends advised me with a slightly different take on this. They said, a man of your age shouldn't be riding around on a motorcycle. Well, one of the benefits of being a man of my age is you don't really care anymore about what other people are thinking. But I've decided to take this expression as a compliment. I have gained the perspective of age and look back with great gratitude and amusement at my path through life, because now, somehow, it all makes sense, especially my evolution on ideas of love. My mother was the soul of love. She loved me absolutely. I never had any doubt about that. She was the eternal sun behind the storm clouds of our family life. My father was aloof, often angry at me, unwilling or incapable of sharing anything about himself except his frustrations. In his own world, he wanted me to love him first, and then maybe he would show some interest. And so as a child, I learned that love was out there, somewhere, that it had to be attracted, possessed, hoarded even. The obvious downside of this is insecurity, that love is conditional, insubstantial, and temporary. As I grew older, a new concept emerged, relationship. You love me, I love you back, like tennis. But no winners or losers, just constant volleying. But the joy of a relationship was always tempered by compromise and agreements. You be the person I want you to be, and I'll try and be the person you want me to be, like a contract. The downside of thinking this way is that contracts can be broken and voided. Then into my life came Donis, my wife, friend and partner, our daughter Remy, this UU community, and all the blessings of a full and rich life. And I experienced the simplest fact, that it's better to give than to receive, to be the first to love. Like my mother, not waiting for people to run to me with open arms, like my dad. Serve others, make the world a better place. Live as with a covenant rather than a contract. Is there any downside to this way of thinking? Well, children grow up and leave home. Worse yet, they're taken away by another person who's going to shower all the love and affection on them that you once did. Friends drift away, fail you in some way or other, and pass on. Where is all the love that you gave? But isn't this still considering love a commodity? Something that can be parceled out, that comes and goes? Isn't there a love that transcends all of this? A place beyond thinking, that's apart, yet intimately entwined with who we are and between us. To my great surprise, when our daughter Remy came into the world, my parents announced that they were packing up a lifetime in New York City and moving to Santa Barbara. They settled into the Samarkand retirement community. Time went by. My mom passed, and eventually my father was on the verge of joining her. I'm not sure he was even aware of me being in the room as I sat with him there at the end, held his hand, talked to him, talked about his life, that I knew he had done his best, taken care of his family and provided a life of privilege for me. Thanked him for all the good things I had inherited, and said goodbye. And I realized that I loved him as a father and as a good man. Where had this love come from? Had it been hiding all these years? I'm reminded of the Golden Buddha story. In Thailand, the monks had to move a large porcelain statue of the Buddha that had resided in their temple for hundreds of years. One of the monks noticed a crack in the clay from which emanated a golden radiance. Chipping away, they discovered the Buddha was made of solid gold. This is a true story and can be visited in Bangkok. When Reverend Julia and I were discussing the service, I made a comment that I really didn't have any beliefs. I had experiences which informed my decisions and actions, at which she just scoffed, as if to say, hey, take a minute to think about that. I'm sure you'll come up with something. She was right, of course. I believe that within each of us, at the center, is a golden radiance, a common energy. To a physicist, it's the vacuum state, a void in which particles of matter pop in and out of existence. A mystic would call it cosmic consciousness. A meditator, the ground of all being. A Christian, the Holy Spirit. It springs from our evolution. It's in our DNA as social creatures who have an innate desire to be together. Let's call it love. It's easier to say, easier to imagine. It is that ineffable quality which dwells within each of us, flows between us, and inspires all our actions, as is so beautifully illustrated on the cover of your order of service. I felt it when I held my father's hand. You will feel it when we hold each other's hands. This love may be dormant, forgotten, buried even. But take it from a man of my age. It's there, eternal, like the sun on a rainy day. I'll finish up with a quote from author Helen Schucman, who created A Course in Miracles. The greatest miracle is the act of gaining full awareness of love's presence in our life. Love is all there is. It has no opposite. Not sin or fear or unworthiness. Love is a force that needs to be expressed. Our work is to live in this awareness and put it into action. Our offering this morning will be shared by the Wilderness Youth Project, which is a group of mentors and guides who take small groups of our youth out into the wilderness for just the experience of being with nature. Will you read with me the affirmation of gratitude and giving on the screen or in the order of service? Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. Let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others.
Finding my way, 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 finding my way back home. Finding my way, 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 finding my way back home. Finding my way, 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 finding my way back home. Finding my way, 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 finding my way back home. Oh, finding my way, finding my way,
Thank you, singers. Thank you for the watery music on this watery morning. Unitarian Universalists are many things. We are a diverse group of people. But one of the things we love is good process. And there's this joke about Unitarian Universalists that asks the question, how many Unitarian Universalists does it take to change a light bulb? And there's many answers to this joke, but one possible punchline is this: 5 to form a committee to research the most environmentally responsible light bulb options, 3 to make some fair trade coffee to sustain everyone in the work, and 1 to change the light bulb, but only after a congregational resolution has been passed in support of carbon neutral lighting, voted on by 2/3 of the congregation at the annual meeting, and the minister has preached a sermon on the unacknowledged role of women and girls as glass blowers in the first light bulb factories. That's true, by the way, so keep an eye out for that sermon this fall. And all of this is just a very humorous way of saying that we Unitarian Universalists take our process very seriously. And we work hard to align our values with our actions as much as we can, sometimes even if it slows us down a little bit. But when we say we want to align our values with our actions, what are the values that we are talking about? We have the mission statement of this particular Unitarian Universalist congregation, but what about for Unitarian Universalism as a whole? We don't have a creed or a statement of faith, but we do have some shared values across all our congregations that orient us and guide us in our actions. And since we are a living faith, which means the way we articulate those values changes over time. The world changes, the culture around us changes, the technology of our words change too. Words are a technology that human beings use to express things beyond what words can say. So from time to time, it's good to step back and reflect on what connects us as a religious tradition. So in 2020, the Unitarian Universalist Association set up a commission to explore the core values that are at the heart of Unitarian Universalism as it exists today. They wanted to better understand what brings us together, how we articulate the commitments that we make to each other, the promises we make as we try to live our values, that language of covenant rather than contract that Peter spoke about in his reflection. The commission was created by the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and they began this multi-year process of listening and learning from Unitarian Universalists around the country. They had workshops at General Assembly, which is our annual gathering every June. They had small group listening sessions, and they sent out online surveys. Is any of this sounding familiar to those of you who've been part of this congregation? We do the same thing, but on a much smaller scale. And of course, this was happening partially during the pandemic, so I don't even want to know how many Zoom meetings were involved. And they gathered input from over 10,000 people and started to draft a document that reflected what they heard. And I just want to say, I met with our vision team this past week for our upcoming capital campaign, and they were doing a similar thing, gathering about 400 data points in an Excel spreadsheet from about 100 people in this congregation as we discern our vision. So you can imagine that process, but on a national scale. And so now, after many rewrites and amendments, there's a final draft that the commission has released, the values that they have identified, which you've gotten a preview of on the cover of your order of service, or that Charlotte talked about in the Time for All Ages. And so I want to read with you this statement that was released by the commission. So go ahead and just get into that listening mode. You can close your eyes or just listen to how they articulated what Unitarian Universalism is all about right here, the first quarter of the 21st century. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant congregation to congregation and through our association to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. And these shared values are interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. With reverence for the great web of life and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. We covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality and justice. We will work to repair harm and damaged relationships. The next value is pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. The next value is justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all can thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions within our congregations, our association, and society at large. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow, spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. The next value is generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. And the final value is equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. That's the text of part of what the commission shared. And they go on to write more about the inspiration for these values, but I won't read you the whole thing here. You can find out more on the UUA website if you want to read it in its entirety. And they created this lovely graphic to share with us about these values they uncovered in their work. Listening to this statement of our shared values, embedded within it are some words and phrases that you might be familiar with. What are some of the words and phrases you heard that jumped out at you? Interdependence, worth and dignity, justice, equity. These are phrases that might be familiar to many of you because they're in the text of those 7 principles that were the first iteration that Charlotte talked about in that Time for All Ages. They're drawn from this familiar source. The principles and purposes that were adopted in 1985 by the Unitarian Universalist Association. And if you open up that gray hymnal, you can see them right there in the front of our hymnal. That's how central they had become to our denomination. And of course, this congregation voted to add an 8th principle not long ago, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But what was adopted in 1985 has been changed in minor ways since then, but we're going to start and go from there. So if you want to read those principles, you can open up your hymnal, and I'm just going to read them out for you, and you can hear the echoes in this language. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, and respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. So here's the twist. These statements, both of these statements, are not just statements about covenant and values, they are also in our bylaws. This is where process and values intersect in Unitarian Universalism. These principles were written not just to be our best attempt at articulating the values of our faith, but as Article 2, Section C-2.1 of the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association. And the commission that I have been talking about, they're descriptively named the Article 2 Study Commission. Because in order to change the language that articulates our faith, we have to have a vote on our bylaws at the General Assembly. And 2/3 of representatives from congregations must vote affirmatively to make that change. Now you see, the bylaws were first created in 1961, when the Unitarians and the Universalists officially merged. And has anybody ever incorporated a nonprofit here in this room? How many of you would describe that as a spiritual experience? Not so much, right? There's a lot of wordsmithing, a lot of thinking about the details of the board of directors and how things form and are dissolved. But in the incorporation documents of a nonprofit, you have to have a segment that says what the purpose of the organization is and the principles by which it will operate. That became our principles and purposes. First articulated in 1961, radically changed in 1985, and now due for an update. Because, as this commission uncovered, there are some things missing from our 1985 statement. The text of the 8th principle, which we adopted, that talks about building beloved community and dismantling oppression, that's not in there yet. It hasn't been voted on. But most importantly, I think, is that center, love at the center. Love is missing from the principles as they are stated right now, and it seems like a glaring omission in a faith that holds it as one of our core values. My colleague, Cynthia Landrum, she put together this list showing you and highlighted all the words that are pulled forward from the old version into the document that is being proposed. So you can see there is a continuity here. There's a thread that runs through this evolution of our faith. And you can move back to that other more inspiring graphic of the flower here if you want. Because we are a living tradition. And although I have loved these 7 principles and now 8, and have been very meaningful to myself growing up in Unitarian Universalism, I can see how we need to transform and move forward together at this point. These were never meant to be a creed. These were never meant to be carved in stone. The people who got together to write our bylaws, they were not our Council of Nicaea, determining the statement of faith forevermore. In some places, this has caused a lot of anxiety in our congregations. Change is hard. Some people worry that what they love about the 7 principles will not be brought forward into this new iteration. Some people feel like in a world that's increasingly unstable and chaotic, they want something that stays the same, and I understand that. And some people are just feeling the difficulty of change. The difficulty of a democratic process with 100,000 people spread out across 1,000 congregations. But just because something is hard doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. Our faith is a journey. It's not a destination. There will never be a time when we are done examining and re-examining the values that shape us. The very act of this re-examination is a spiritual practice for us. It would be antithetical to our faith to become stuck in one place in one particular moment in time. We evolve and we change. But every time we do so, we don't throw out our past. We carry it along with us. Like on any journey, like on the journey of your life, all of those experiences that you have grown through, all of the things you have kept and discarded, they stay within you, embedded in who you are. The same thing is true of our faith. And I have no doubt that 20 or 30 years from now, there will be a new cohort of people re-examining the ways we articulate Unitarian Universalism. This is what it means to be part of a living tradition. And I love it. Being part of this endless examination of what it means to be human that goes on from age to age. This is why we are a religious tradition and not a nonprofit. because we do this work as a spiritual practice. The words we come up with are waypoints, signs along the journey. They're not cemeteries with epitaphs in stone. We pass through them. We are not buried with them. And so I look at this new framework here. I look at the statement that the commission wrote, and I think to myself, is it perfect? Of course not. There are things that if I ruled the world, I would phrase differently. But is the goal perfection? No, perfection is not the goal. Movement toward love and liberation is. And this way, this seems to be pointing us toward that goal. So I will vote yes for it. And we will have other delegates of our congregation showing up at General Assembly to vote their conscience on these changes. And what happens afterwards? The real work begins of understanding how we live into these values, of reaching out to others and say, if you share this, if you're looking for a community of people striving to bring more love into the world, then perhaps you have found your home here. It says so right in Article 2, Section C 2.1. Love is at the center of all that we do. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. Let us sing together once more. Please rise in body and spirit. We're going to sing out of the Teal hymnal for our closing song. We also have the words on the screen, and Matthew is going to lead us.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations, seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
Stay right where you are, and if you'd like to put your hand over your heart, or if you have permission to hold hands with your neighbor, or just hold your hands open wherever you are joining us from this morning. And as you go out into this beautiful and heartbreaking world, may the light of love shine upon you, out from within you, be gracious unto you, and bring you peace. For this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And let us call out a blessing.
Call